Alright, today's lesson 12, factoring the GCF and Trinomials. We've done this before in Algebra 1, so we're kind of going back into this topic, but we're going to do, we're going to practice the basics of this and then do more advanced problems, Algebra 2 style problems. So we're going to look at factoring the GCF and Trinomials, okay? So in factoring, what factoring means is to break it apart. We usually put things together in math by multiplying them, and they kind of get all compact, right? So, and they kind of get kind of thick and compacted. So, in math, we have this thing called factoring, which means to break apart. Break apart. Factoring means to break apart. What does factoring mean? Okay, good. All right. So that's what we're doing today, and and you use this skill in real life to think of, like, you might break apart your your VCR, your old VCR you still use. I don't know. You're like, how does this work? Or you might have to take something apart, like maybe you work on your car one day and you have to break apart the engine or a part of the engine, and so you have to know how to break it apart and put it back together, okay? So it's the same concept, same skill, and there's tools to do that. So these are the steps, and then specifically again on step 3, this is what should be written for step 3. A times C, and B. And we're going to come back to that. So if you're on the video, please pause it right now. And here we go. We're going to work on numbers 1 and 2. So watch up here, pencils down. Here we go. Numbers 1 and 2, watch carefully. Numbers 1 and 2, it says factor completely. So when we factor, we break it apart until we can't break it apart anymore. Okay, so in number 1, it says factor completely, 5n squared minus 15n. First thing I always check for is the GCF, okay? Is there a GCF on number 1? Is there a greatest common factor? Looking at my two terms, I have a 5n and negative 15n. Looking at the coefficients, 5 and negative 15, what goes into both 5 and 15? 5, okay? So 5 is the largest. And then I want to also look at what goes into each of these letters. I have n squared and n, so I know that n goes into each of these. Okay, I just factored that out. So now I'm going to open parentheses and close parentheses. I'm going to ask myself, 5n times what is 5n squared? Just n, okay? 5n times what is negative 15n? Negative 3, okay? I've just factored out the GCF, okay? So at this point, I ask myself, can I factor anything else out of that binomial n minus 3? And I can't. Okay, that's it. So I'm done. Okay, and how do you know you're done? You just know because you can't factor anymore, okay? We usually would try the X box next, but this isn't a trinomial, so we're all done with this one. That's number 1, okay? So what did I do again? Again, I figured out what my coefficients were, factored out 5n, asked myself 5n times what is equal to 5n squared. This could be n. 5n times what is equal to negative 15n, negative 3. Okay, number 2. We got 3x cubed minus 3x squared minus 6x. Okay, first thing I'm doing is figuring out what is the GCF of these. If there is one, the number that goes into all of them, yep, is 3, right? So on each of these terms, we could take out a 3. And then I'm looking at the variables too. There's x cubed, x squared, and x. I could take out an x out of all of these because x to the first is the smallest one. So now we're going to factor and rewrite our trinomial. 3x times x squared is equal to 3x cubed. 3x times negative x is equal to negative 3x. And 3x times negative 2 is equal to negative 6x, okay? So I just factored out the trinomial, okay? That's the first step, GCF. Now I have a trinomial, and if I look at my trinomial, we have a coefficient here of what? 1. No, coefficient of 1. Coefficient in the middle term is negative 1. Coefficient of the third term is negative 2, okay? Remember before, this is a quadratic form when we have x squared. So when we have a quadratic, we have letters A, B, and C. So this first number 1 represents A. So A is equal to 1. B is the second term where it's to the first power is negative 1. And then C is negative 2. Okay? Remember the quadratic formula a couple years ago? Yes? X is equal to negative B plus minus square root. Remember that?
Oh, God.
Yes. Oh, God. Okay? So, we have A, B, and C, same concept, okay? Now we're going to do Xbox. Watch carefully. This might look foreign to you, or you might have seen it in another teacher's classroom. So this is the way I do it, and I like my way the best because I kind of looked at the other ways, and I think this is the most successful for my students, okay? So looking up here, the first thing you want to do is draw an X. And then you're going to draw a horizontal line through the X like this, okay? That's the first thing. Then you're going to put A and A here. A is equal to 1, so put 1 and 1 here. Everyone's watching. Please watch up here. Okay, on the top center, right here is going to be A times negative 2. So it's going to be negative 2 on the top. And then on the bottom is B. We put B here, which in this case is negative 1, okay? So now I'm asking myself, what multiplies to be negative 2 but adds up to negative 1, okay? So I'm going to do the factors of negative 2. So the factors of negative 2 are positive 1 times negative 2. Positive 2 times negative 1, right? Are there any other factors? No, that's it. Then I want to ask myself, which ones of these adds up to negative 1? Well, what's 1 plus negative 2? What's 1 plus negative 2? Negative 1, right? Oh, that one works. What about this one? What's 2 minus 1? Positive 1. So I know that positive 1 would not work, so I don't want to use those factors. So since these are my factors, I'm going to bring these over here now, okay? And I know this is a large process, but once you do it a few times when we do larger problems, this is going to really save a lot of time. So now I put the factors here, okay? Remember the A is up here. Now this is where the box comes from. We're going to put a box here and a box here. Okay, ask myself, can I simplify these fractions at all? Can I simplify 1 over 1? No. What goes into it? 1. Can I simplify 1 over 2? Yes or no? No. So today we can't simplify. Tomorrow you will. So now these are our coefficients of our factored form. So it's going to be 1x. 1x plus 1 is our first one. And then we have 1x minus 2 as our second one. And then I don't want to forget my GCF that I had at the beginning, this 3x. I don't want to forget that, so I'm going to bring that down. So we got 3x here, okay? And of course, that 1x and 1x, that's kind of redundant. We're just going to put 3x times x plus 1 times x minus 2. And that's it. This is the fully factored form. I can't really factor anymore, so that's my final answer. Okay? So the second one, Xbox, is a little bit harder. I showed you the hardest problem just now, okay, that you would encounter today in your homework, okay? And the problem number 1 was just GCF. Problem number 2 has GCF plus Xbox. So tonight you'll have problems that you just do GCF, you'll have problems that you just do Xbox, and then you have problems like number 2 where you do both together. Does that make sense? Okay? No? Does it make sense? Yeah. Okay. It's going to make sense once we practice it. So, and the Xbox thing is really important because when we do harder problems like tomorrow, it's going to really help you out. Okay? So, turn to your neighbor. Let's have 1 solid 2 is about number 1. 2 solid 1 is about number 2. Ready, set, go. Continue on. Number 3. Number 3, we got factor complete. We got 5n cubed. And look at that. Number 4 is just like that. So we're going to ignore number 4. Made a mistake there. So number 3, 5n cubed minus 45n squared. Turn your neighbor, discuss what the GCF of each coefficient and variable are. Ready, go. So on each of these, number 3, 5n cubed minus 45n squared, I noticed everyone got the 5 correct, so that's great. But if you look at this, we got n cubed and n squared. Okay, what's the smallest exponent up there with n's? N squared. So take out n squared, okay, because that's the smallest. So we got 5n squared times n is 5n cubed, and 5n squared times negative 9 is going to be negative 45n squared. Does that make sense? Okay. Some of you just took out a 5n, so just make sure you check that out, okay? Does that make sense? Here we go. Next one, number 5. Now, number 5 is going to be, let's do this one together. This is a combo one now. You have to figure out GCF and the trinomial Xbox, okay? So here we go. Let's do this one together. Number 5. What is a GCF you could take out? Let's see. Let's look at the coefficients first. What's a number you could take out of 2, 14, and 24? 2. Okay, good. 2 is correct. So we take out a 2. Okay. Now we're going to look at all the x's. We have x cubed, x squared, and x to the first. What's the smallest x up there? X, okay? So we got x to the first. Then we ask yourself, what do you multiply 2x to get 2x cubed? X squared. Good. What do you multiply 2x with to get 14x? 7x. Positive 7x. So we want to think positive 7x, so we're putting positive sign there. Okay, 2x times what is positive 24x? Positive 12. Thank you. Positive 12. Okay? Because you're thinking positive 12 because you have to put the plus sign there, right? Okay, that's why I'm forcing you to say positive or negative, okay? Good. So that's the first step. GCF is done. Now we have to ask ourselves, can we do an X box? Okay, yeah. What's our A here in our X box? A is equal to 1. B is equal to? Good. C is equal to? Good. Excellent. She's on a roll. Okay, so we're drawing an X box. Looks kind of like this. Okay. We're putting... Everyone's doing this one together. I'll let you catch up. I know I'm going a little fast. Okay, so we put our A on each of these areas. So put A over here and here. So we're going to put the A. What's A equal to?
1.
So we put 1 and 1 here. Good. Then we put at the top middle, we put A times C. What's A times C?
12.
Good, 12. And then at the bottom, we put B. What's B? 7. Okay, and these are positive 12 and positive 7. Making sure you got that. So what times what is equal to positive 12? Now, raise your hand if you could do this in your head at this point. Okay, but if it's a larger one, I want you to go through this process. Okay, so you're going to do positive 1 times positive 12, positive 2 times positive 6, positive 3 times positive 4. These are all the factors, right? And then, because sometimes you can't do it in your head, so this is what you'd have to do, okay? But, of course, we all know what are the two factors that add up to 7? 3 and 4, right? So 3 plus 4 is equal to 7, so we know that this is the one. The others don't work, so we're not going to use those. So we're going to put positive 3 with the plus sign and positive 4 here, okay? And, of course, you box it on each of these. Looking at each of these fractions, can we simplify 1/3 or 1/4?
No.
Yes or no? No. Today you won't. So today's you're gonna go through that step, and there's not gonna be anything to do there. Okay. So now we bring down the GCF of 2x. Bless you. 2x times, and then we got open parentheses. We got positive 1x plus 3. So we're just gonna put x plus 3. And then the next one's gonna be 1x plus 4, or just x plus 4. There's no need to put the 1 there because it's redundant. And that's it. We're assuming there's a 1 there in front of the x. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, and you might say, you could do this in your head. Raise your hand if you could have done that second step, the X box in your head. Okay, that's fine. I still want you to practice it tonight anyways, because when we do the larger problems you can't do in your head, this is good to save you time and to do it correctly. So please practice the easy problems tonight. That way tomorrow when we do the harder ones, you're ready to go. Yes?
How do you know which one to pick?
On the list?
Plus 12.
You have to ask yourself which ones of those add up to be B, which is here. You need to pick the combination that adds up to 7. So what's 1 plus 12? 13, right? 2 plus 6? 8. Does that work? No. 3 plus 4? 7. That one's the one. Does that make sense? Okay. That's why we do the list. Okay, next one, last one. Let's have you do number 6 and then we're done. Go. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, on the last one, you could have factored. I'm going to go quickly. Watch carefully. You're going to factor out a 2, so it's going to be m squared plus 3m plus 2. That's the first step. Then I want to factor out this trinomial. So a is equal to 1, b is equal to 3, c is equal to 2. Drawing our x box. Okay, 1 and 1. A times c is 2. Positive 2, and then b is positive 3. What times what is equal to positive 2? It's going to be 1 times 2, right? That's the only ones, and it's equal to 3. What am I doing? Positive 1 plus positive 2 is equal to 3. Okay, so that's the 1. So we're going to do positive 1, positive 2. Box these. Okay. Then we bring down the original GCF, which was 2, times, open parentheses, take the square root of m squared, which is m, so it's going to be 1m plus 1, and 1m plus 2. And that's it. I can't factor anymore, so we're done, okay? There are more advanced portions of factoring that you'll get to, but that's it, okay? So this concludes our lesson. So what I'd like you to do is shut off your iPads, turn to your neighbor, discuss these 4 questions. We do have answers to all 4 questions. Ready? Go. You want me to give you a pass, just in case?